Merry Christmas! It is day 359 and it is Christmas Day in 2022 and it is a whopping 9 degrees, but that feels warm to me after the last few days. And look at this beautiful sunrise. The lake is frozen over. There's still some duckies out there. It's not all frozen over, those poor things. But God, really instills in us, even, like my cheeks are starting to get red. He's designed us, all the beings, to be able to handle the temperatures in different ways. And so my body right now is sending lots of blood to my exposed areas to help protect me and keep me warm. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And I don't have to even think about that. My body just does that for me because God designed it that way. Look at this, beautiful. So I wanted to show you the lake today. I'm calling today Holy Smokes, Holy Smoke. I read chapters 15 and 16 this morning, but I'm going to camp in 15 because there's some really beautiful imagery. And there are people that conquered the beast. I think that was the wording, and overcame the beast and his statue. And they're standing on what looks like a glass sea mixed with fire. I was like, well, that imagery sounds pretty familiar. And then I was like, well, look at the sun there, and then look at the lake. Now, we're not seeing it as much today, but sometimes when there is a beautiful, colorful sunrise, this looks like glass mixed with fire. It's pretty amazing. So I'm thinking a sea of glass and water, and how that conjures up, what feelings that conjures up in me. And so these people are standing on what looks like a sea of glass and mixed with fire, and they've got harps. So I'm like, sometimes I feel like that in the morning. It's just me out here. And then they sang a song of Moses, the servant, the faithful servant, was that the name? And then the Lamb. And it talks about God's just holiness and how marvelous and how wonderful his works are. It's, giving praise. Like, who doesn't bow down to God's sovereignty? Now, I'm paraphrasing that because I don't have a photographic memory. But look at this. Where I can come out here and just sort of detach from the drama in my life. And it goes on to even talk about there's 7 plagues coming, and God's tabernacle is open wide. And the angels are in there preparing their big bowls of wrath and plagues. But then there was that interesting notation of God filled the temple. His smoke filled the temple. And I thought, well, that's a weird analogy. God's never heard, and maybe it's been there, but my memory's just not coming up with it now. But God being referred to as smoke, holy smoke. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. What is that? So, you just let your mind go with some of these metaphors and visions and what it brings up in you, what familiar things. And you can't have, so God, we often talked about God as this unseen spirit, but smoke brings things that are typically unseen to be seen, right? It's particles, actual particles mixed with air and vapor that kind of is suspended in a visible way in what is normally invisible, right? Like, we can't see air, we can't see wind, sometimes we can see clouds because enough vapor collects, but that's different than smoke. Smoke is tangible. And so that just, you can go with me here. But our thoughts also, we can't see our thoughts. But our thoughts, of course, become real when we act on them. And then we turn what starts off as a thought into reality. And depending on whether we're living down here or up here on the beautiful lake, peaceful with the harps, and we can be a little bit detached and stay above the noise, or do we get sucked into the drama of everything and then invite plagues into our lives? But God is real. Like God, or whatever this mystery is, but it's like smoke. We don't know exactly what it is, what he is, but it's real. It's the invisible mixed with something tangible and visible. It's an evidence of something that has maybe once existed in one form, and then fire even gets introduced, and then it burns and it creates smoke. So it's even a transfer. Yesterday, that came from the Battle Hymn of the Republic, but the transfiguration, that smoke is something solid and tangible being transfigured into something else. And so I was just, I don't know, that there was, when words in the Bible mean a lot of things, and when you sit with them and let your mind just sit with it. Here, I keep wanting to show you guys the water. Maybe I'll just stand still. Damn, my rosy cheeks. Protecting me and trying to keep me warm. Holy smoke. God is real. It's something tangible being mixed with something else that is tangible, but normally we don't think of it that way because we can't see it. And when we let God into our temples, because we are the temples after Jesus came. It went from being the temple that was there and God being separate to, nope, now he's in us. We are each temples. And his spirit mixes with ours and creates a fragrant smoke. It's real. And the people that know this and live their lives accordingly get to experience the sea of glass mixed with fire, with harps standing on it. Like they're above the noise and creating their own music. And just standing in awe and reverence, which takes a lot of humility to not get caught up in drama. I just got caught up in some drama yesterday, fear-based, and that got poured on me, became part of my blood, and I poured it right back out onto other, this is part of even the thing that came to my mind with the metaphors of even the bowls of the plagues and being poured out, because we live in relationship with each other, and when one of us gets all caught up in something, we infect each other for good or for not good, and then we can create big dramas. Of course, what happens on a micro level happens out, big. And before you know it, there are wars, and when you get collective flanking and all of that. So you can go through all the metaphors of human behavior, and when we're living at the lower level, and we're not tapping into the fullness of what God has available to us with wisdom. But we've got to humble ourselves. Like, you can't get to wisdom without humbling yourself. And the ego does not like to be humble. Like this, standing on a glass with just the harps and just all of that seems kind of boring to the ego. It's like, well, what am I going to do? How do I entertain myself if I don't have all of this drama? But as you start to learn to live in a non-attached way, then that peace that surpasses all understanding starts to take over a little bit more and a little bit more. And you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. maybe I want more of this. Holy smoke. Mixing with my own thoughts and transforming how I see the world. I don't know if any of this is making sense, but Merry Christmas. I'm glad it was a little bit warmer today, and it would have been really cool if I think I came out a little bit too late. We would have seen a little bit of fire mixed. Look at this. My eyes are probably, there was a water drop there. It was not a tear. I think that must be another one of those automatic processes for our body to help maybe keep my eyes warm and lubricated. That's cool. Anyway, Merry Christmas, or whatever day it is when you're watching this. I'm going to go have a Merry Christmas, walk home and cook some food, and have a nice morning feast with my family. All right, talk to you later. If I can push the button with my gloves. Maybe not.